Hey guys, welcome back to the Noble Berean channel and back to our Bible study in Genesis 27. We're going to talk about how Jacob deceived his father Isaac of the blessing that he was supposed to give to Esau. And he had a lot of help from his mom, Rebekah. So in the previous chapters, we learned that Jacob also deceived someone, and that was Esau, for his birthright. Because he was hungry, Esau came from a long day of hunting. He was hungry, and Jacob said, sell your birthright, and I'll give you some food. So Esau did. He didn't value his birthright. So again, Jacob the deceiver attacks again. All right, so let's get to it. In Genesis 27, which is also in Jasher 29:1 through Jasher 29:23, it says, And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. Go get some deer for me, Esau. And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. So obviously we see here that the intention was for Isaac to bless Esau, his oldest son. But we'll find out that wasn't the case. And Rebekah, in verse 5, heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. All right, so they're coming up with a plan now. Rebekah initiated it, because she loved Jacob. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loves. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, and he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. In verse 12 it says, My father peradventure will feel me, and shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. So Jacob did not know how he was going to perform this deception, but Rebekah had a plan. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob upon her son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, or here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. So Jacob lying in front of the Lord, his God. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau, or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and felt him, and Isaac felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So Isaac had a feeling that something was up, and he was right. But when he felt his hands and his neck later, he's going to see that it was hairy, and Jacob's going to end up deceiving his dad. Verse 23, it says, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may be blessed. And they bless you, or bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near, and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, which Rebekah had given Jacob, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field, which the Lord had blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, the nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. So the blessing was given to Jacob. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of the blessing Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, and Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his venison, of his son's venison, and thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, my firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. So Esau, the deceiver, stroke and strike again. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times, deceived me twice. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved the blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So this is what was talked about in previous chapters, about 2 nations being in Rebekah's womb, and they will go against each other. All right, now Jacob's going to escape because he fears for his life. Before we go there, let's read in the book of Jasher, where it talks about Jacob actually being scared and leaving and hiding in Eber, the son of Shem's house. So this is a little different account, which is not in Genesis, but it's a good background. And as I said before, take it as you wish. I take it as kind of a background and a history, the book of Jasher, but you guys can decide on your own, do your research, see if it's scriptural, and if it applies. So in verse 11, we're going to read in Jasher 29, it says, and Jacob was very much afraid of his brother Esau, and he rose up and fled to the house of Eber, the son of Shem. And he concealed himself there on the account of his brother, and Jacob was 63 years old when he left to go there. And Jacob was concealed in Eber's house 14 years on account of his brother Esau. And he there continued to learn the ways of the Lord and his commandments. All right, so that is something that you usually don't realize when you read the book of Genesis, but it is there. He was 14 years in Eber's house, and Eber later, we're going to find out that he dies at the age of 464 years old. So realize a lot of these guys that were around this time, they lived a long time. So Shem was up to 600, I believe, and Eber now dies at 464. So slowly these ages are declining. We had the 900s in the beginning, and now they're going down. So Jacob was 79 years old when Eber died at the age of 464. So realize Jacob is no spring chicken either. He was pretty old, even when he meets Rachel, which we'll find out later. Laban's twins that he had, Leah and Rachel. We'll read about that. But just wanted to give you some of that background of where Jacob was while he was hiding from Esau. And then also, not sure if it did mention this in Genesis or not, but Ishmael dies at the age of 137, and that's when Jacob was 65 years old. Jacob and Esau were 65 when that happened. Actually, yes, 64th year of Jacob, so 64 years old they were. All right, so let's get back to Genesis, verse 41 we're on. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Genesis 28. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee blessing of Abraham to thee, and to thy seed with thee. And thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Paddan Aram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, a Syrian, and the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Paddan Aram, to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, and gave him in charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And Jacob obeyed his father and mother, and was gone to Paddan Aram. And Esau, defying his mom and dad, said, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, and the sister, she was a sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So he defied his mother and father, went against them, and married Mahalath. Jacob's vow at Bethel. Verse 10, and Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place, and put them for his pillows, and lay down in the place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached heaven, and behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and God of Isaac the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. So we see the blessing comes to Jacob and not Esau. And thy seed shall be as dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, Surely the Lord is in this place. I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was called Luz at first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. So Jacob was attaching a condition here in order to bless the Lord his God, which he should have unconditional love for. But he's saying, if God does all these things, then I'll consider him my Lord, which is wrong. In verse 22, it says, And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. So we see the concept of tithing comes into play again, because it talks about a 10th, which means a tithe. But this was a conditional tithe. So if it's God does this, then I'll pay you, right? Which is awful. All right. So let's go to Genesis 29. Then Jacob went out on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And this is eventually where he's going to meet Rachel. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of the well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. So now Jacob is going to see Rachel and just be amazed at her beauty. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot, until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. So they both fell in love with each other, but realized Jacob is like Rachel's uncle, pretty much. So he's a lot older. He's in his 70s at this point. So a lot of people don't realize that when they read through this story. They think they're both kind of similar in age. But no, Rachel is most likely under 20, and Jacob is in his 70s. So it's a big difference. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah. And we find out in the book of Jasher that they were actually twins. Leah came out first. But the older one was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. So tender-eyed is another way of saying she didn't look as good as Rachel. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years of Rachel for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, because he loved her, for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. So the deception of Laban is coming to teach Jacob of what he did and to give him a taste of his own medicine. So let's read on. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, which is the older one, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. So Laban actually deceived Jacob, because he brought Leah instead of Rachel to go into his room and marry him. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? Why did you trick me and give me Leah? And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So basically, Laban is saying, serve 7 more years, and you'll get Rachel too. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And a week here means 7 years, 1 week. And he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter, Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So a total of 21 years, 14 to get to Rachel, and then 7 more years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So God has a sense of humor here. He says, okay, you're going to hate Leah and love Rachel. I'm going to close Rachel's womb and open Leah so she could have kids. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, the firstborn. For she said, surely the Lord had looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left bearing. Genesis 30. This will probably be the last chapter, just to go through the rest of Jacob's children. So if you want to look at the book of Jasher, it's 31, chapter 31, 16 through 34. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. Back in that day, not having children is like an abomination. So you're not fulfilling the promise that God gave that women will be saved in childbearing. So it was almost like unheard of not to be able to have children in that day if you're a woman. So this is why she expresses herself this way. She says, "Give me children or else I die." And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in God's stead? Am I God? Can I control it? Who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb?" And she said, "Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her." So go to the maid and basically have children with her, and it'll be my kids. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan." And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed." And she called his name Naphtali. So we see this battle between Rachel and Leah. Who's going to have more kids, right? And ridiculous, even giving their maids. So Jacob's going to be married to 4 different wives here. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. So Jacob married Zilpah now. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, "A troop cometh," and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, "Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed." And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes." And she said unto her, "Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also?" And Rachel said, "Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes." And Jacob came out of thy field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, "Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes." And he lay with her that night. So Jacob's over here bouncing around, going from one house to the other, laying with Leah, laying with Rachel, laying with the maids. He was a busy man. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. So this is the 5th son on Leah's side. And Leah said, "God hath given me my hire, because I had given my maiden to my husband." And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, "God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And we'll learn a lot more about Dinah in a story coming up later on in Genesis. And we'll find out much more about her. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. So finally God said, "Okay, Rachel, I will allow you to have some kids." And she conceived and bare a son, and said, "God hath taken away my reproach." And she called his name Joseph, and said, "The Lord shall add to me another son." And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, "Send me away, that I may go unto mine own place, and to my own country." So Jacob said, "I have so many kids, so many wives, just let me go to my own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee." And Laban said unto him, "I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake." And we learn a lot more about that in the book of Jasher. If you read chapter 30, 31 in Jasher, it says Laban was blessed with so many cattle and so much money and inheritance just from Jacob being there, and the Lord blessing Jacob, and in turn Laban was blessed as well. So we find a lot more detail about that in Jasher. So verse 28, it says, "And he said, Appoint me the wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, Thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it's now increased unto a multitude. So he's saying, before I came, you had nothing, Laban. Now I come, and you're really wealthy. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now, when shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all thy speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So Jacob basically saying, I'll take the worst of the flock that you have. Just give me the brown ones, the speckled ones, the ones that are not pure. I'll take those. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come from my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So he says, if I do take ones that are not speckled or not damaged or not brown, then that'll be like I was stealing in God's eyes. So Laban said, behold, it might be according to thy word. So Laban says, okay, as long as you keep your word, right? And he removed that day the he-goats, the male goats, that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of hazel and chestnut tree, and pilled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. So basically he's painting some of the sheep to make them look white. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters in watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flocks of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. So here's the deceiver again, Jacob, taking the good sheep. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler cattle were Laban's, and the stronger ones were Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly. When it's talking about the man, it's talking about Jacob here. He increased in wealth and cattle exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses or donkeys. All right, so we'll stop there. We see how Laban tried to deceive Jacob, and then Jacob came back, had some revenge, and deceived Laban. And this was all behind the scenes of when Jacob deceived Esau and his father, and a lot of deception in these last chapters. But going forward, we're going to read how things are going to change, and Jacob will become a man of God. His name will be changed to Israel. His sons will be the 12 tribes of Israel. So we'll get all into that next time. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you keep reading and keep studying and search the scriptures to find out what I say is true. All right, guys, take care. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully this video has blessed you. If you guys want to support this ministry, please consider giving a donation at the link below. I will also include it in the description. Those of you that are already supporting the channel, I want to say thank you for helping to get the word of God out to all the nations.